Hello, American patriots. Welcome to another episode of the Doug Ducote Show. You had plenty of places you could be tonight. You chose to be here, and for that, I'm greatly appreciative. My friends, let me tell you something. America at the moment is coming apart at the seams, sadly. We have so many issues that we're faced with. One of those issues that we're faced with that we should not be faced with happens to be racial relations, especially when it involves our law enforcement men and women across America. Sadly, CNN, MSNBC, the Democrats, liberals are trying to paint a narrative that all police officers are bad and all police officers are only waking up every day, starting their shift, hoping that they can shoot and kill an innocent, unarmed black man. Nothing can be further from the truth. It's a sad narrative, it's a pathetic narrative, and it's one that is basically has zero merit because it isn't true. The majority of the men and women in law enforcement across our country are honorable, brave heroes that go out of their way to help their communities, to protect and to serve. They sure as hell aren't doing it for the pay because they're getting paid pennies compared to what their actual job entails. Sadly, if this continues, people aren't going to sign up to be cops anymore. People are going to look at what's happening and they're going to go, you know what? It's not worth it. Either because they believe this false narrative or they don't want to be called a racist, a bigot, and many other horrible names that are spreading across this country. Nor do they want to have a target on their back for just doing their job. What happened to George Floyd is a travesty. Thankfully, the officer involved has been arrested along with those officers that stood by and did nothing, as it should be. There is no place in law enforcement or anywhere else in any other profession for human beings to act the way they did, standing over and in one case, one kneeling on George Floyd. But those officers that are responsible for his murder do not represent the majority of the men and women in law enforcement that put on that uniform every day to go out and risk their lives to protect and serve their community. But you wouldn't know that by listening to the falsehoods that are being spread. I want to share a few things with you that are disturbing, to say the least, about this topic at hand. I want to start with a few things that have been said just recently in the past several hours. Jeremiah Ellison, a Minnesota city councilman and son of State Attorney General Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison will be the prosecutor prosecuting these police officers. Keith Ellison also is the same guy, if you go back and look at some of my past videos, and I did one on him, supports Antifa, and he became a Muslim. Now that's fine, except when he was running to be in the position he is now as the AG in Minnesota, well, see, his former girlfriend came out and shared with the world the abuse that she suffered under him. Because, see, Muslim men believe that they have dominance over their women and their women should be submissive. That is just the culture and that lifestyle of people. Whether it's wrong or whether it's right, that's not for me to say. But we do know that she talked about the abuse she suffered at his hands. She shared pictures. She shared the medical reports from the hospitals and the ER rooms, and even a video that her children had taken, all of the abuse she suffered under this man. But no news media outlet would pick that up and run with it. And Keith Ellison was elected as the AG and will be in charge of this case. So his son, who's a Minnesota city councilman, along with Congresswoman Alihan Omar, are calling for the dismantling of the Minneapolis Police Department because of what happened to George Floyd. Both have also expressed their support for Antifa, which is now labeled by our president as a domestic terrorist organization, as it should be. We've all seen what they do. We've all seen it played out on our television for the past several years, the violence they incite. Former Hillary Clinton press secretary Brian Fallon also expressed his support for defunding law enforcement. So, what did Jeremy Ellison actually say? He said, "I hereby declare officially my support for Antifa." He tweeted that on May 31st. "Unless someone can prove to me Antifa is behind the burning of black and immigrant-owned businesses in my ward, I'll keep focusing on stopping the white power terrorists that are actually attacking us." I can't even begin to express the outrage I feel by listening what this son of a bitch had to say. He went on to say, "We're going to dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department. And when we're done, we're not simply going to glue it back together. We're going to dramatically rethink how we approach public safety and emergency response. It's really past due." Leaders of the Congressional Black Caucus, Hispanic Caucus, the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and members of the Congressional Native American Caucus also called for legislation to condemn police brutality and reform police departments. Leaders predicted a package to reform bills could pass later this June. Activists calling to defund police departments want resources diverted to other investments in the black community, such as education, healthcare, and other community services. Now, let me explain something to you brain-dead nut jobs in Minneapolis that are for this. Well, if you defund law enforcement, you will have an all-out back to the Western days, back when people were just randomly shooting and killing whoever the hell they want, similar to like what happens in Chicago every night. If you defund law enforcement and take the money and put it towards what you want, education, healthcare, and other community services, there won't be any education, healthcare, and community services, because there'll be nobody to protect and defend that. That's how stupid this is becoming, my friends. You think it can't get worse? Well, it sure as hell can. When someone that I respected dearly, someone that I've actually met a few times, someone that I thought was an outstanding member of the community here in Louisiana, during an interview Wednesday with Yahoo Finance that comes among the recent protests brought about by the killing of George Floyd, New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees said that kneeling during the national anthem constitutes disrespect to both the American flag and the United States. I, for one, agree 100%, and I've said so in my past videos. I've called out these NFL players and their false narrative many, many times. Brees, when asked during the Yahoo interview about kneeling during the anthem, mentioned his grandfather's service in the military. I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country, Brees said on June 3rd in an interview with Yahoo Finance. Is everything right in our country right now? No, it is not. We have a long way to go. But I think that you do by standing there and showing respect for the flag with your hand over your heart. It shows unity. It shows that we are all in this together. We can all do better, and we can all do our part of the solution. Brees' comments then drew significant backlash on social media, and his name as well as Damn Drew became trending topics on Twitter. Several of Brees' current and former teammates, including safety Malcolm Jenkins, defensive end Cameron Jordan, wide receiver Michael Thomas, wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, running back Alvin Kamara, cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, safety C.J. Garden-Johnson, and former wide receiver Marcus Colston all spoke out on social media in immediate aftermath of Brees' comments, condemning Brees' stance with posts of their own or shared posts from others. So, Drew Brees expresses his First Amendment rights of how he feels. And he feels the same way that I feel about this kneeling bullshit, as well as most patriotic Americans and most of us that know the facts. But then he became a little bitch and he retreated under the pressure. He tweeted the following: I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. And speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. In an attempt to talk about respect, unity, and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on the issues we are facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion or empathy. Instead, those words have become divisive and hurtful and have misled people into believing that somehow I am an enemy. This could not be further from the truth and is not accurate reflection of my heart or my character. This is where I actually stand. I stand with the black community in the fight against racial injustice and police brutality and support the creation of real policy changes in law enforcement that will make a difference. I condemn the years of oppression that have taken place throughout our black communities that still exist today. I acknowledge that we as Americans, including myself, have not done enough to fight for that equality or to truly understand the struggles and plight of the black community. I recognize that I am part of the solution and can be a leader for the black community in this movement. I will never know what it is like to be a black man or raise black children in America, but I will work every day to put myself in those shoes and fight for what is right. I have always been an ally, never an enemy. I am sick about the way my comments were perceived yesterday, but I take full responsibility and accountability. I recognize that I should do less talking and more listening. And when the black community is talking about their pain, we all need to listen. For that, I am very sorry and I ask for your forgiveness. Well, Drew Brees, I think you should do a video saying the same thing while you're on your knees in front of these black NFL players and in between sentences, lick their feet. What a disgusting human being you are. I will never, ever support you or the New Orleans Saints football program again. And I hope that my fellow brothers and sisters will do the same. Shame on you. Why we are at it, I think it's time that we actually discuss factual information. Factual information about what is really happening between the black community and our men and women of law enforcement. What I'm going to share with you are the facts, the cold hard facts that no one on the left, no one in the Democrat Party, no one in the liberal media such as CNN or MSNBC is willing to talk about. Now, I'll give Fox News credit for actually going there. We'll see how long that lasts. So when you pull all the data from the Department of Justice, from the FBI, from American institutes that actually monitor and follow and list and document law enforcement shootings in America, you get the following. The narrative they want you to believe. Twice as many blacks as whites are killed by police. But in fact, 75% of police shootings is not black. Of course, that is not what you would grasp by consuming what the media is pushing. Black Americans are 2.5 times more likely than whites to be killed by police. How many times have you heard that? That is a damn lie. It is sheer demagoguery, peddling as U.S. cities are being set ablaze by rioters in the wake of George Floyd's killing by a Minneapolis police officer. Let's look at the past few years, just back to 2017. In 2017, there were 457 white people killed by police. Only 223 black people. That is facts. In 2018, there were 399 white people killed by police and 209 black people. That is a fact. In 2019, there were 370 white people killed by police and 235 black people. That is a fact. 2020, from January 1st to last night, 42 white people have been killed by police and 31 black people killed by police. As a matter of fact, what happened last night? Moody, Alabama Police Department confirmed one of their officers was shot and killed in the line of duty last night. The officer was ambushed. The officer was identified as 50-year-old Sergeant Stephen Williams. Sergeant Williams was a 23-year law enforcement veteran. He was married and had 3 children. May God welcome him home with open arms and comfort his family and friends. As Heather McDonald relates in an insightful Wall Street Journal op-ed, blacks make up a quarter of the total number of people killed in police shootings annually, a ratio that has held steady since 2015. However, that is 25% figure proves racism since African Americans make up just 13% of the U.S. population. Ridiculous as it is, it still puts the lie to the slanderous narrative that police are hunting down black men, even if we ignore the fact that an increasing number of police officers, obviously including those involved in encounters with black suspects, are themselves African Americans. Fact, the percentage of black deaths from police shootings would be much higher if blacks were being targeted. Police do not go out looking to shoot people. In shooting situations, police are confronting crime suspects, the majority of whom are armed. But given that George Floyd was unarmed, let's consider unarmed people killed in such encounters, such as unarmed people are twice as likely to be shot if they're white as they were black in just 2019. 19 unarmed whites, 9 unarmed blacks. As Mr. McDonald observed, this ratio is not stable, and there is some loosening in what the media define as unarmed. In 2015, it was 38 unarmed blacks to 32 unarmed whites. The Floyd narrative is innocent, unarmed black men murdered by cops, but the number of unarmed black men killed by police is vanishingly small. There were 7,407 black homicide victims in the United States in 2018, the last year for which filed numbers were available. Assuming a comparable number in 2019, the 9 unarmed men killed in police shootings would represent just 0.1% of black homicides. In stark contrast, she asserts, a police officer is 18.5 times more likely to be killed by a black male than an unarmed black male is to be killed by a police officer. The media, the bipartisan political class, the academy, this just pathetic institutional of unconscionism in CNN and MSNBC and those like them. Statistic tunnel vision. We must include that African Americans, in particular young black men, are being targeted by police because the percentage of killings of blacks significantly overrepresents the black population. It makes no sense, however, to look only at the percentage of blacks involved in police shootings, as if it were the only attribute that mattered, as if it were the only attribute when blacks are overrepresented compared to their percentage of overall population. While African Americans are involved in 2 times more police shootings than their percentage of the population would seem to warrant. They commit 53% of murders and 60% of robberies, well over 4 times their percentage of the population. The political establishment would have you assume this statistical disparity is caused by institutional racism, and it beams police attention onto black men. But we know the statistics accurately reflect reality because crimes get reported by victim, a large percentage of whom are black, also overstepping their share of the overall population. If you just focus on interracial crime, though, between 2012 and 2015, blacks committed 85.5% of all black to white interracial violent victimizations. This includes interracial homicide. Blacks committed around 70% of black to white interracial homicides. For this, just look at the FBI crime statistics for 2016. They show that 776 black to white homicides, blacks committed 533 and whites 243. By the way, nor their combined total comes anywhere close to the number of blacks killed by blacks, a staggering 2,570, the overwhelming majority male. The most dangerous threat to the African American community is not American cops. It's liberals. It's Democrats. The United States is not institutionally racist. The political system, the criminal justice system, and the academic overflow with political progressiveness, the notion that they would tolerate racism in their institutions would be laughable if sensible people were encouraged to think about it rather than mindlessly accepting it. Nor could we conveniently be unconstitutional or unconsciously racist. Let's put aside that to discriminate is to choose, and that is where it exists. Racial discrimination is a conscious state of mind. The reality is that our institution or option are so obsessively racialist, no one in America has the luxury of being unconscious about racism. The African American community is the same. Like other segments of the American population, it is diverse and dynamic. The policies pushed by progressives damage the parts of it that need most help, and the false narrative of racist police which pressure law enforcement to back off from the communities most victimized by crime is now destroying entire cities. That is all facts, my friends. No matter what the Democrats and liberals say. Now, let's look at police shootings that resulted in the officer's death. In 2020, this year, so far, 26 law enforcement officers have been killed in the line of duty from January 1st, 2020 to last night. And we still have 6 months to go. Assault numbers, assaults on police officers, will not be available until 2021. Last year, 89 law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty. 89. Assault numbers will be available in the fall of this year. Now, let's look at both numbers. 2018, 55 law enforcement officers died from injuries incurred in the line of duty due to felonious incidents. 58,866 officers were assaulted while performing their duties and injured. 2017, 46 law enforcement officers died from injuries incurred in the line of duty during felonious incidents. 60,211 officers were assaulted while performing their duties and injured. 60,211. In 2016, 66 law enforcement officers died from injuries incurred in the line of duty during felonious incidents. 57,180 officers were assaulted while performing their duties and injured. In 2015, 66 law enforcement officers died from injuries. 57,180 officers were assaulted while performing their duties and injured. 2015, 41 law enforcement officers were killed. 50,212 were assaulted. 2014, 51 law officers were killed. 48,315 were assaulted. 2013, 27 law officers were killed. 49,851 were assaulted. 2012, 48 law enforcement officers were killed. 52,901 officers were assaulted while performing their duties. And 2011, 72 law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty. 54,774 officers were assaulted while performing their duties. These are not overall officer deaths. These are just the ones that were killed in the line of duty by another human being or human beings. Bottom line, more law enforcement officers are killed in the line of duty due to someone committing a crime against them than blacks and whites put together. Black on black crime. More black people kill other black people than law enforcement by far. In fact, over 1,000 plus every year. Just look at Chicago, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Oakland, Philadelphia, Minneapolis, New York. Every metropolitan city in America that's run by Democrat mayors and Democrat governors are a shithole to black on black crime. That is an epidemic. Where are the protests for that? Where are the protests nationwide for black people killing other black people? And where are the protests for black people killing police officers? Where are they? Facts matter. All lives matter. When we sit back and allow a false narrative to not only run rapid throughout America, but to affect the actions of our youth. And in this case, it appears to be the bad elements of Black Lives Matter and the white people that are responsible in the membership of Antifa to destroy our country, to burn down our buildings, attack police officers with bricks and rocks and Molotov cocktails, or shooting them dead with a gun. When we allow that to happen, then we are part of the problem. The problem America faces today is not, I repeat, is not police officers killing black people. It is a false narrative that is fed to you 24/7 by Democrats and liberals and the liberal news media. That is a fact. You cannot dispute those facts. I've given them to you. I ask you to share them. Share this video. Post it everywhere you can in social media. To let those that are on the fence, that aren't quite sure, know what the actual facts are. And know that they're being lied to by these pathetic, inexcusable, low-life pieces of crap in America that claim to be doing the right thing and standing up for justice. Do we have problems in America with racism? Of course we do. It's on both sides of the fence. Trust me. Do we have problems with our justice system? You bet your ass we do. I'll be the first person to tell you that. Our justice system is freaking broke. If you have money, if you have fame, chances are you're going to walk no matter what you do. Who's the first president to actually do action with reform in our jail systems? You think it was Barack Obama? You're sadly wrong. It was President Donald J. Trump. If you were to actually break down all of the things that have been done for the African American communities across this country under Trump so far, compare it to 8 years of the Obama administration, it's like night and day, seriously. Obama, the first black president for America, with Eric Holder, and then followed up by, can't even think of the dumbass's name, the female, black female that followed him. They didn't do shit for the African American community. Nothing. Nothing. But make it worse. They made it worse. we are seeing the effects of a news media that has lied to us. It doesn't match the numbers, my friends. Now, who am I preaching to? Most of you already know these facts. The far left are going to call me part of the problem. They're going to call me a racist. They're going to call me a bigot. I know, because they've done that throughout my years of putting out videos. But thankfully, thank God, 99.9% of all of you, that at least those of you that comment on my videos or my show, agree wholeheartedly with what I'm telling you. I do my homework in great detail before I start opening my mouth and talking into this camera. And unlike many people out there, if I make a mistake, I'm the first person to go, you know what, I'm wrong, I got it wrong, and I correct it. Hell, I just did that a few days ago. That's the difference. And real journalism and this fake news shit that Trump talks about every day. Folks, as Americans, we need to do better. We need to find a way to bridge the gaps with those that are too stupid to know or understand or educate themselves on what the facts really are. And sadly, most of those that are running around delusional, adult-wise, are between 18 and 30. They're lost, and they think America is a hateful, racist country. And it's spreading to other countries looking at us as that white people are the bad people. White supremacy is running rampant in America. We're all wearing hoods and burning crosses and hanging black people from trees. That is such ridiculousness. It's absolutely not true. Thank you for joining me tonight. Please share my video. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, our president, and our country. You got a lot of places you could be tonight. You chose to be here. And for that, I am forever grateful. There's a lot going on behind the scenes right now that you guys don't know about when it comes to my show and my videos. In due time, I will be putting out videos sharing that. Many of you know about some of the attacks I have received from the anonymous ops folks, literally, that have involved FBI investigations into them on my behalf. Well, just recently, they've upped their game. And their game could have easily taken my life and my son's life yesterday. I'll leave it at that. There's more to come when that investigation is completed. But it's going to take just that, taking my life to get me to shut up and to stop putting out factual information. I will continue to talk about what's real and what is not in the United States of America. I fought for this country. I fought for the Constitution, and I'll be damned if I'm going to roll over and allow liberals and Democrats and the far left, the Antifa folks, the bad elements of society to run me over and silence me. Social media may do it as they've been doing it. As you know, or may not know, I'm banned for life on Twitter. but I will keep pushing forward. Thank you. God bless you. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful and blessed night. And one last thing. There's a bad tropical storm out in the Gulf of Mexico heading right at Louisiana right now, where I happen to be. In fact, it's supposed to make landfall about 30 miles to my east. I believe that's going to happen in a few days, and it could very well become a hurricane before landfall. So please keep the people of Louisiana and the South, the Gulf area, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Texas in your thoughts and prayers as well. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you soon.